welcome back to the ongoing lecture series for social media marketing. This installment, Chapter 10, Social Media Analytics and Metrics. With this very cool graphic that I found that I'm sure you're very much liking. Or maybe not. It does have Google Plus in it, which is not so much a thing anymore. But staying with our what matters is measured concept from earlier, start with a semi-related item, but not completely related. And we've may have showed you this before. This is a free tool you can use from Esri, which is a zip code lookup item where you can find information about your neighborhood for free. So I'm going to enter in 30720, which is Dalton, Georgia, one of the Dalton, Georgia zip codes, just as an example. And I'm going to pick graduate and professional degrees and monthly credit card charges. Now, if I pick another one, it will knock one off. So if you paid for this, you could get all of those. So they kind of tempt you with, being able to see too. So if you do that, and this link will be in the modified PowerPoint slides that I've posted, and you can explore and do it as you want. You see over here, they have these personas that we've talked about before in marketing and in this course too, that they've given names to, that kind of describe different segments of the population. So we can see that in the median income, which is not the average, it's the amount with which, by definition, half of the residents would fall below and half would earn above. You can see for the zip, it's a little higher than the county, and both are lower than the state. So if you were looking to reach people via social media ads, let's say banner ads or whatever, and it was for some sort of expensive car or service or something, you might set your decision rules to only reach into zip codes and IP addresses that were above the state median. So maybe for that, you wouldn't pick this zip code. It also has manufacturing workforce. Maybe it does give us 3, or it just chooses one. You can say heavy manufacturing in the county and a zip code much more than the state. And then the state has almost 12% of people with graduate and professional degrees. That would be master's degrees or doctoral degrees. And I apologize for the beeping in the background. That is something going on outside and just bleeding through. So it's on my nerves as much as yours. So you can see the zip is higher than the county, and both are lower than the state. So if we were looking for high earners for our good or service, then maybe this is not the zip code we would pick. But it's still pretty, there's LJ, and they call them rural resort dwellers. Let's see what they give Dalton. Salt of the earth is the highest percentage. We can see down at the bottom left. It's 18.6. But it's a fun way to look at community lifestyle, demographic information, and if somebody was really doing it, if you were doing it for real and had money on the line, you would probably want you would want the paid version. So I'm starting with that and continuing on with social media in research. In marketing, we typically refer to marketing research or market research. That applies in social media as well. These things you should already know, but we'll touch on them briefly here at the beginning anyway. Secondary research is like the example I just showed you. That's data that's been collected by somebody else for whatever their reasons are. The U.S. Census is the same thing. It's data collected that you may be able to use for your purposes, but it wasn't collected by you or for you specifically for your purposes. Primary research, on the other hand, is collected either by you or for you for specific reasons. So, secondary is cheap. Primary is more expensive. Let's say secondary is, well, I guess we could stay with cheap. We really should say inexpensive. Oftentimes free. And primary research costs money to get. So, that brings us to social customer care. And for our purposes here today, let's talk about how companies monitor, listen, and react or respond to messages directed at them via social media, Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. And just some stats: 75% of social media users write brand related posts. 26% of these are complainers. And there's a whole lot of complaining literature in the marketing discipline. Research that's been done, many things tested, theories applied, and people complain for different reasons. Some people think they're making a difference, they're helping somebody else. Some people just wake up in the morning and complain. Some people are looking for something out of it. Different reasons, and that's about a fourth social media user. 80% of people, though, that complain expect a company response. In other words, they don't feel like they need to take their time and make a phone call and wait to talk to somebody. They expect a response if they tweet at them on social media. To that end, there's a site called Social Bakers. Again, you can pay for it or you can look at it for free. So we're looking at it for free. So if we go down, these are all international, companies. You can see it's for Q4 2020. If we go up here to choose a country, they want us to pay. I believe if we choose something other than worldwide brands, they want our information. So we'll just leave that alone. Well, I guess if you just change it, they want you to. So we'll leave that alone. But you see, they measure, this site provides data on, say, DHL, how many fans they have, their response time, how many they respond to, how many messages they respond to, answered minus ignored questions, and then sentiment. The highest sentiment on this page is this, which I will not even attempt to pronounce, but I guess we could click on it and see if you want to. The purpose is this. You can see that the response rate, the industry benchmark is 94.22. So you see Bangalink Digital exceeds that, and they're pretty quick, their response time. Whereas this company has positive sentiment, 544 minutes to respond. So, got it. The thing to remember, or the thing I want to tell you is there are people that measure and will provide that information to companies and firms. How is their social listening? What is their response rate? I can tell you that the response rate of the Tampa airport is very quick. I tweeted at them in the airport. It's probably been 2 years ago now. That where I was, it was hot. I mean, it was hot. I just tweeted at them, and within about 5 minutes, guys came around and corrected air conditioning and it got cooler, and they responded, asked me if I was more comfortable, and I said I was. I never had to go seek anybody out. So I can tell you, Tampa Airport, they do respond. So what kind of research can we do? We can do observational research, which is observing and recording behavior or residual evidence of behavior. So we could have people in a lab, and we could expose them to different sights, colors, smells, and see if it changed their disposition toward buying our appliance or not, or our women's clothing or not. There's numerous studies involved, all that kinds of stuff. Or we can observe online via social listening. Pay attention to what people are saying online about Delta Airlines. Categorize them, the sentiment as positive or negative or neutral or whatever. We could respond to problems, people, why is my flight not taking off, that kind of thing. And then we have ethnographic or ethnographic research, which I'm not a big, I don't say I'm not a big proponent, but it is a thing. And I am going to interrupt myself right here and quit that's popping up. And you can see the second bullet describes it compiles and analyzes data about the free social behavior of individuals on the internet. In other words, not in a controlled scenario, but in the wild, if you would. And the idea is that when people are just behaving freely, and maybe don't even know that they're being monitored or paid attention to, you really get their true activities recorded. They're not trying to, maybe the surveyor's is asking the wrong questions, and they're able to, perform in the wild as they would naturally. And they can search or look at whatever they want to and don't have to worry about anybody. So typically qualitative research or quantitative research involves numbers. Qualitative research does not. Now, it's very simplistic, and in a court of law you could find problems with that definition. But quantifying something typically means you've reduced it to numbers somehow. Qualitative is, how do you feel about this brand? Are you positive, negative, neutral? You can convert those to numbers. But qualitative research can also provide a lot of rich insights. Focus group would be an example of qualitative research. Me giving you 10 questions that you'll rank from strongly hate to strongly love on a 10-point scale. That would be more quantitative in nature. So, like you can ask people how they feel about a brand, like I just said, or a political candidate, or whatever. And there's a lot of software that exists where, for example, I could, let's say I read a study not too long ago, it involved Revlon. So Revlon, using software, scraped all of their social media sites using this software. They didn't have to go through it manually, of course. And then the software designated whether it was positive content toward Revlon, negative, questioning, neutral, strongly negative, strongly positive. And if you were really doing that kind of research, you would get more than one person, preferably a diverse group, females, males, ethnicities, ages, geography, and have them assess the themes that the software came up with and see if they're correct. And you think, well, why wouldn't it be correct? Because the software is, it's expensive and it's built to do that. But as we will talk about here, there are issues with automated data scraping tools that researchers use for social media research. The volume of the conversation. Something could have happened recently, and whereas usually the volume of conversation, say, is 10 comments a day, maybe for a span of a week and a half, it was 1,000 a day. So you'd have to, picking the horizon of time that you were going to study, you would need to know that. And if you didn't know that, it could really skew the numbers. Cultural factors in the meaning of language, right? Does the software understand what a negative comment from an Irishman is versus a negative comment from somebody from Mississippi versus someone from, Buenos Aires? It's not that. It is good and robust that way, but it's not perfect. So that's the reason that you have people review to make sure. And then things have multiple meanings. For example, irony and sarcasm. Automated tools have a problem picking that up. My former students would tell you that I do not do any business with BP. Even a convenience store that's owned by somebody else would have BP gas, because I grew up on the Gulf of Mexico, and the BP oil leak of the Macondo well that they dawdled on for too long, in my opinion, and then said snarky things and whatever. I don't trade with BP, but if I tweeted, oh, I love BP as much as a railroad spike to the eye socket. Okay, obviously I don't love BP, but the software may have problems with that snarky sarcasm. So it may just get the first part, I love BP, and categorize as a positive sentiment toward the brand, when it's not in actuality. So those are some potential issues using automated tools. So as an example, I'm not going to click on these, but you can see if you just pick, a couple of YouTube videos about a brand, and then read the comments and categorize them, and see what you come up with. Do you get any insights or not? How confident would you be in sharing those results with your superiors, that you have analyzed the YouTube comments on the YouTube videos that have been put up? You could pick just consumer generated ones, or maybe ones generated by the firm. Should you do it? Yes. Social listening is important, especially if you've got something out there that's just getting drugged all over the internet. You want to fix that or take it down or something. But also, somebody some user may have put up a video about their Honda lawnmower and how it saved their life, and Honda needs to be listening and know that's out there, and then could use it in their own situation. I won't tell you, the video on the right is ostensibly about Arby's, but if you watch it after laughing, like a maniac, you'll realize it's not. It's a thing that guy does. All right. So, what kind of errors can we have when we're doing marketing research or social media research? Coverage error is one. So, I have Gamers Talk versus Twitter. I'll make it even more a ridiculous example, but if we were interested, say, in perceptions and sentiment about a new video game that we had put out, and we we scraped data from Pinterest about it, would we be getting sentiment and data and information from people who are heavy users of our video games? Well, no. Most gamers are male of a certain age, of a younger age. Most users of Pinterest are female of another age. So we wouldn't be getting data from people who really know a lot about our product. We would know what women of a certain age thought about it, if anybody thought anything about it. So you want to make sure, if we're asking about campus parking at our college or university, we're not interested in 65 or older people who generally don't come to campus and park. So we would want to make sure that we were scraping data from the right social media platforms. And then we could have sampling error doing digital market research or social media market research, which I've listed 3 bullets here of an echo effect. Right? The positive network effect of social media is the more people that use it, the more valuable it becomes. If you have a social media platform that has 1,000 people, that's not that interesting, not that valuable. And electronic word of mouth is spread pretty widely. So an echo effect would be a duplication of a post. Say somebody put some foolishness up on Facebook about some conspiracy theory involving a guy coming to your door and trying to give you a shot for the COVID-19 vaccination that doesn't have microchips in it or something crazy. That can be shared and duplicated widely, and it would affect the data that we're collecting. Or say it's just a real popular post of a group of, I saw one recently of a group of LSU fraternity alums who paid off the mortgage for the woman that was their house cook when they were in school. Right? So that's going to get shared a ton. So you want to make sure that, and that's, social media is geared for duplication. Retweets, shares, you get it. So, also a participation effect. It kind of relates to the Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, that which you can apply to all sorts of stuff. In this case, we'll say that 20% of the Twitter users generate 80% of the tweets. And that's loosely true for Twitter. So you want to make sure that, you have participants who are regular, avid tweeters. And so you're oversampling them and your results that delta is great or delta is terrible. Or they weighted so that we even them out with the people who may only, tweet, once a day. And that's a common problem with measuring social media sentiment. And then we have non-response bias, which is we have people, and let's say we have some people in our survey. Are they a lot different than people who aren't in our data set or in our survey? That's called non-response bias. With social media, well, for regular like political polling, if they're calling phones, are they using random number generators, or are they using landlines? If that's the case, then the people that are not getting, people with mobile phones, probably are going to be different than those they sampled that only use landlines. So it might be age, ethnicity, and by geography. Maybe more people in some geography use more mobile phones than other geographies. And social media also, we'll go back to the gaming example up above. If we are scraping data from, say, Instagram or farmers only, then the people that aren't in our data set that we collect they could be different if we scrape data from, say, where these gamers participate, which let's say it's Twitter. There's probably other sites that we could scrape data from. So you want to make sure that the results you're getting are from the right people. And you also want to be careful that the people that are either not responding on their own or not responding because you're not in the right place are not significantly different from the data you did collect, because then that makes it, not very robust. And the last thing I'll mention is a convenience sample. If I wanted to sample a college classroom and use the data, because I have access to a classroom full of college students, and I wanted to use that to get some data on some type of consumer behavior, right? How best you let's say that you like that these college students like to buy their groceries, right? That would be okay. A convenience sample is a sample of people that you have access to, if it works for your research end. Now, if I said, well, I have access to these college students, I'm going to survey them about Medicare Part D, then that wouldn't pass muster with the journal editors or your boss if you're doing it at work, because what do they know about Medicare Part D? I might have a couple people that do. Most people, not. You're not going to, that's off in your future. You think you'll never get there, and so you're not an expert. You don't use it. So whatever you answer is not going to be very usable to us. That's an example of a convenience sample that you shouldn't use. But convenience samples are accepted in research, provided that they match up with the kind of people that you're looking for. So social media listening. I have a former student of mine who does this for a living for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee. They have metrics on how quickly they're going to respond, what they're going to do with messages, who they run them up the flagpole to. This is a link, obviously, and this is a link. I'm not going to click on this one, although you can click on it on your own. But just as an example, to show you that there are companies that will do this. This, again, we can access some basic information for free, as a hook. Right? So I'm going to put in Dalton State College. And around and round it'll go. Where it stops, nobody knows. I don't want them to send me notifications, so I'm going to leave that alone. So it's now looking for Dalton State College hashtags, social media handles, all sorts of stuff, keywords, searching blogs, newspapers, forums. Then it went on to Twitter, Instagram. Now it's looking at the sentiment, whether if Dalton State College is mentioned, was it positive, negative, nothing? Whether Dalton State College was mentioned. Again, the paid version gives you much deeper data. You can see it even found Dalton College, which is not even the name. So you can see it gives you the number of mentions, which is not very many, interactions, reach, how many people shared posts that mention it. It gives you a word cloud. I don't know what that means. Late Tony. You can see a hometown hero, Dalton State College. We could click on these. This is from April 10th. And Coach Ireland's a great basketball coach. So we could, and these are related hashtags. I don't know what a Promise Wall Wednesday is, but it looks like somebody's taking a swipe at that. I don't really know what that is. That must be something going on campus. So this is like a retweet right here, which is somebody just looks like maybe he retweeted that. Yep, retweet. Outside the box sports. And then we have our top influencers about Dalton State College. We've got the AKLs, Alex Allen, Reed Dungan, who's a former basketball player, and with only, a few mentions. But so you can say, okay, well, then you might say, well, we really want to improve that. So you would take some efforts to improve that. But there's software available that makes it easier to get data on your social media marketing campaigns and also to research. So that's the purpose of me showing this to you here. And if you ever work for someone, you can see that there's all sorts of options for getting that data. So with that said, that will complete the highlights for Chapter 10, Social Media Analytics. And then Chapter 11 talks more about metrics, which we will go over shortly. Okay? So, hope everybody's doing well, staying safe, washing those feet and hands. And I'll see you on the internet.